traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as she travels the Vortex and arrive at episode 404, where we're having danger for breakfast. Not really, we're gonna have cereal, or croissants, or fried little Portuguese. Oh, never mind. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
I'm Glenn.
How are you guys? Hungry for breakfast?
I do, actually. I could crave a croissant right now.
Would you like a
You
side?
could crave one?
I could crave one.
You could crave one.
Would you like a
But
side
I
of
won't,
danger?
but I could. With a side of danger.
You guys do anything fun this week?
I finished Drift, the Doctor Who novel, fourth Doctor novel,
Oh, how was
by
it?
Simon A. Ford. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think its only weakness, and it's not even to its detriment because there are a lot of interesting characters, but there's a lot of characters in the book, which, funny enough, I think is the one thing that we came down on Scary Monsters on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people to keep track of. And there are a lot of interesting characters, and the character development for some of them is great. There's a lot of side characters that I think could have been trimmed, but when you've got this like Strike Force team, you kind of need a lot of people, and for what they get into, it makes sense why he used so many characters. But that was my only downfall. Is I would kind of forget who was who on some of the really peripheral characters when they were talking about them. It could have been, Unit Man number 1, not Unit, but Snow. What is it?
Right.
I can't remember the name of the unit. Snow something. Man 1 or something. You couldn't write it that way, but it did. I don't think it needed that many named characters. It's good. It's. The other thing that I think it probably could have done better is Simon's got the fourth Doctor's voice, and he's got Leela's voice, but the fourth Doctor is sidelined for a good chunk of the first part of the book. And by sidelined, I mean just not utilized enough. Once you get about a third to halfway through the book, the Doctor's there a lot, but he's absent for a good chunk of the book, and I would have liked to have seen more, especially since Simon writes him so well. And then our FBI agents that were introduced to us in Scary Monsters. This book surrounds them, and now I want Simon to go off and write some just stories of these guys. In fact, I told him, I said, we need to get Sean and Andy to let him do a Lethbridge Stewart novella and just focus it on Agent Parker and Agent Quaternaro. Man, they are an interesting duo, and I can't say much more about them, but I know a whole lot more about them now, and it's really intriguing. So, I'll give you a little bit. I think that Scary Monsters kind of give us this. They kind of have this Mulder and Scully thing going on, just kind of the way that the
Kind of felt that way,
are.
yeah.
But boy, they're a lot more in depth, than we get in Scary Monsters. I think the other thing I did was, and I've seen it dozens and dozens of times. It's just one of my favorite movies. I watched It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
I love that.
I do too. It's so good.
We watched Hotel Transylvania 3.
What'd you think?
It was okay.
Yeah.
It had a couple of good moments, but nowhere near the caliber of the first two.
Nope.
I still haven't seen the second one. I absolutely love the first one.
The second one's really
still
quite
not watched
enjoyable.
the second one.
I don't know I think I like the first one best, but there's a lot of great moments in the second one. The third one kind of feels like it should have been straight to DVD, and they could have got not Adam Sandler and any of the actual cast, and it would have been the same.
They wanted the money.
Yeah,
they knew that if they put it in the theater, people
Yeah.
would come see it because the first two were so good.
I watched The Shining, which I had never seen.
You've
never seen it?
I had never
I'm
seen The
surprised
Shining.
that there are so many. Of course, you're not a horror movie fan.
Very much not.
And so,
Did this
but
give you
you're a
nightmares?
huge Stephen King fan, so I'm really surprised you had at least seen. You saw Christine, a week ago, and The Shining now, and
There's really only a handful of King stuff that I had seen. I've read, I don't know, probably 3/4 of the books, but no. And again, I'd seen all the bits, I'd seen the blood in the elevator. I'd seen the twins in the hallway. I'd seen the here's Johnny. I'd seen the maze. I just never had watched it all at once. and I feel cheated.
Having seen all those bits in
Yeah.
advance
Yeah,
of the movie.
because
because those are the moments.
It's such a slow burn.
It is. It really is.
And it's this gradual ramp up as you follow his descent into madness, that those moments become bigger and more shocking, and as you go. But when you've already seen that moment, it really loses the impact of it. And I feel
I
like,
can see
oh
that.
man, you gypped yourself on this one. It's good, although unlike Christine, which I think very much feels like a Stephen King movie more than a John Carpenter movie, The Shining still feels like a Kubrick film. It just overrides
totally.
everything.
It just really, really feels
Yeah.
Kubrick.
Which again, it's not a bad thing.
No.
I appreciate Kubrick, but I don't particularly like Kubrick. I know that's sacrilegious from film circles, but
Oh, I don't know. Kubrick, in my opinion, he's kind of hit and miss. There's some things he
I
does
would agree.
really well, and there's some things that he just overdoes.
But yeah, it's just there's a pretty big hole in my horror movie knowledge, and so this is kind of all right. I'm going to go back and start filling in this hole.
We did a haunted house at my work. So
How'd that go?
A lot of
I
my
saw
week
pictures. That looked cool.
was spent, well, more than week, but was really gearing up because we did it Friday. It went really well. We had about 120 people come, and it was just for the employees and families. So for that, it was pretty good. Most of our staff, as opposed to downtown, but we had a few people from downtown. We were pretty happy with the turnout. We had 8 different rooms that different units decorated, and then we decorated a major hallway all the way through it, and different themes, and each room tied into what each section did somehow. So and people got to vote on their favorite room, and the room that won was the virology serology unit, who test for various things, including Zika, and that was the theme of their room. It was a jungle laboratory, so it was a skeleton that died of Zika and mosquitoes all around and black lights. It was really, really well done.
All right, shall we move on to news?
Unfortunately, we only have one bit of news, and it's some sad news. Derek Sherwin passed away. For those who don't know, Derek Sherwin was a script editor in the 60s, late 60s, early 70s, starting with The Web of Fear, The Mind Robber, and then he wrote The Invasion, and then was a producer from the War Games to Spearhead from Space. So he kind of spearheaded, no pun intended there, the transition from Troughton to Pertwee.
Yeah. And an integral part of creating Unit.
Yeah. And Time Lord, so it was his idea, according to Terrence Dix.
And he was responsible for hiring Terrence, if I remember correctly. wasn't he?
Yeah.
So really, 90% of New Who, when I say New Who, I mean anything post
Derek Sherwin.
He was kind of responsible for that.
Yeah, he really was.
Not New Who.
Now we've got classic Who, New Who, and New Who.
Postmodern
Right.
Who.
Yeah, postmodern.
And that's it for news.
All right. Well, I think we got a bit of feedback this week.
We
didn't
sure do.
We do.
First up is Holly.
One is the loneliest feedback that you ever wrote. 2 could be as bad as 1. It's the loneliest number since the number 1. Oh. I did that because this was the only piece of feedback we got on Glenn's recommendation. And just as a reminder,
No guilt there.
If you're watching the show and listening to the podcast and would like to send us your thoughts, you can. Keith, how can they do that?
They can send it to feedback@travelingthevortex.com or on our website, travelingthevortex.com. Just fill out the Send Us Feedback tab. Or if you're on Facebook, you can just fill out the Send Us an Email section, and it will shoot it over to us.
It is just that easy, and then we will read it out, which is what I am about to do now. Arachnids in the UK. Holly writes, "Hey guys, a creepy-crawly episode to say the least. Chris Noth can play a jerk of a character rather well. Nice to see Yaz's family. Felt for Graham when he went back to his flat and imagined Grace there. I was almost wondering if the spiders weren't ancestors or related to the spiders from Metebilus 3. Didn't see the twist or connection with the toxic waste from Jacob Robertson's business dealings. We also get the drop of Amelia Earhart and that the Doctor has sisters. There's some There's some backstory there that I wouldn't mind finding out about more. The ending with Yaz, Graham, and Ryan telling the doctor they want to stay with and traveling with her was great. I'll wrap it up here. Holly from Wisconsin.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you, Holly.
Well, since that's our only bit of feedback, let's move on to our review.
Yes.
Arachnids in the UK. Something's happening with the spiders in this city. The Doctor, Yaz, Graham, and Ryan find their way back to Yorkshire and Yaz's family, only to find something is stirring amidst the 8-legged arachnid population of Sheffield. I think it's supposed to be Yorkshire.
Somewhat appropriate this episode aired this week.
Yeah. Well, I think I was saying that last week, that I thought it was kind of cool that we're getting a proper creepy episode this close to Halloween.
So my alternate open was having Sean say, "The spiders, oh God, the spiders, why?" How'd you do with that, Sean?
That was pretty much my reaction to this whole thing. For those that don't know, I kind of have that phobia. And not like the characters who claimed to have the phobia. Because they're like, oh yeah, I have a phobia about spiders. And then they went looking. It's like, no. just I'll be over here if you
Sean
need me.
would have went screaming from the building.
I had to been on the first flight out of London. Like,
He would have, he would never even got to the hotel. To be trapped.
He's nearly the meme incarnate of, I burned the house down to kill the spider.
Yes.
I can neither confirm or deny that happened once. About the time the first football-sized one scuttled out from under the thing, it was like, okay, I'm not going to handle this very well, am I? And of course, Mel's just as bad. She doesn't deal well either. And when it comes to movie spiders, there's different degrees. And I think I've told the story before about the giant spider invasion, which is what started this phobia. But it's the itty bitty ones. Okay, I'm usually okay. You get up to tarantula size and it starts to, and it's just the way they move. They scuttle. I don't like things that scuttle. And then they get up to, the size of Buicks. And
Like the Big Mama one.
That's terrifying to me. Now, when they get like Aragog size in Harry Potter, then it's like, that looks fake. That's not scary to me. He's too big. I feel like I can effectively run away from that one. But that mid-size bus, no. Just no. It was horrifying. So high marks for that.
So you thought the spiders looked good?
I thought the spiders looked really
I
good.
thought the special effects was amazing.
They were really, really good.
It'd be interesting to see how they hold up in a couple of years.
I will not be rewatching this one. So that's.
I'm not sure I'll watch this one again soon. I have a mild ick about spiders, but this one creeped me out, man. I watched it once and I thought, this is one that I'm liable to crawl over the back of this couch and watch from behind the sofa, and it wasn't even so. It had a lot of creepy scare factor to it, but man, it's just the creepiness of the spiders.
And this is something that I really see. I couldn't watch from behind the sofa because who knows what's behind the sofa?
Because there might be spiders.
There might be spiders. I give them full props for doing this. Where I think a lot of people probably have, maybe not a full-blown phobia, but they're a little creeped out by spiders. That's not a pleasant thing for the most part.
Not usually.
But throughout the whole episode, we get a very positive scientist role model who is very matter-of-fact about the spiders. We get not Alien Menace, not Planet of the Spiders. These aren't the 8 legs. They're Earth spiders, and they're confused.
We get an American corporate businessman that's up to no good.
Right.
The
spiders themselves are broken, and they're lost and
out
confused,
of normal.
and they're acting out, and it's not, they're not actively going out to kill people. They're not trying to be malevolent. They're just spiders doing what spiders do, but they're doing it weirdly because of this other influence.
They make such a great point of saying that almost without saying, the spiders in your home aren't going to behave this way because of this.
Right.
That these aren't normal spiders.
And
they
so
almost placates the fear because
I really liked
these
that.
spiders aren't going to come do that.
I really like the fact that they were striking that balance between, we did something really scary, and they could have gone to the moon and had lunar spiders, or brought back,
or they could have done Moffat and made normal spiders even scarier.
Yeah, but they didn't. It was just like they're acting weird because of this. Unfortunately, because of this that they came up with, I found to be kind of ludicrous. Really? It's a landfill, and it's giving off methane, and it's enclosed, which is kind of creating a toxic dump, which is what's mutating. I don't know.
And the same destruction people are the same people that service the lab that are creating the experiments.
It wasn't just the toxic waste. It was toxic waste from the lab where they were doing experiments on the spiders to grow them bigger so that they could study the webbing in order to create stronger...
among various other things.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was a little more palatable for me that it wasn't just junk in the bottom of a basement or a coal mine.
The fact that we already started off with spiders that could grow larger. Okay, I'm fine with that science. Although, having seen Deep Blue Sea, this is not a good idea. But we'll let that go for now.
Well, look at the spiders in Australia. Why would you want a
big spider? No. Yeah, same.
I mean, so
I've seen that picture. No,
it's out of the realm of possibility in normal society.
Well, they tried to give it some scientific speak of, a spider will continue to grow, and it's one of the only creatures that will, as long as it has what it needs to live.
Right.
So, I mean, birds eat them and we step on them, so that's why they don't grow so big around here. But you're right. In Australia, they get up to the size of a dog.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong, even with the and I was glad that they went there. 'Cause know thy enemy. Because spiders have, exoskeleton.
Yeah.
That they can't get beyond a certain size. That they'll continue to grow as long as they have what they need. But at some point, they're going to tap out just because they cannot lift their body.
Or can't breathe.
Or can't breathe in this case. And it was like, okay, that's really cool that you guys went there. Because again, it felt like they were really towing that science line that I tend to like in my Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So we went back to the science part of it. And then the jerk comes in with a gun and seems to indicate that that's the solution to the problem. And it wasn't. And she was dying anyway. But then that's the climax of the thing is... Oh, you made me feel bad for the spider, but I really didn't, and because I didn't get the chance to before she was killed, and I'm angry at that guy already. So I don't know quite what they were going for with the end.
Well, I think I think that character was written as a statement or comment on the current social climate. And particularly, I think it was a dig at the U.S. And I'm actually okay with that because I think it's warranted. But I think it was just. I mean, Doctor Who has never been lacking in social commentary, and I think this was just somebody's opportunity. Chibnall, I think
Chibnall wrote this. He wrote it alone.
He wrote
this one alone. So I think this was his way of inserting some political statement into it, which it's fine. It wasn't subversive, but it wasn't overly subversive. So I was okay with
my
it.
biggest problem with the episode is the lack of resolution. Okay, so Mama Spider dies, we get that resolution, but then the rest are just trapped in the safe room
for 6 months until they die
to starve to death. That's
super humane, isn't it?
Yeah. Is it more humane than shooting the spiders so that it doesn't suffer?
I think that's what you're supposed to walk away with it. Was a mercy killing more
and then did they just go and shoot all the rest, or did they just leave them down there?
Or do they die naturally? Because, I think their point, at least the scientist's point, was that, in nature, when they run out of food, a food source, they die. So all we're doing is we're creating a situation where they're going to run out of a food source eventually. I got the impression from the food that was in the panic room, they would be able to live for a while. Be able to live for 6 months, like he would. So they just happened.
My other question then becomes: okay, these aren't normal spiders. They're mutated. They're evolved. They're changed. Who says they're gonna die?
They're mutated. I wouldn't say they're evolved.
They're changed. They're mutated. Who? Why? What? How do we know they're gonna actually die?
Well, we'll go.
We don't know how smart they are.
Maybe they'll in 6 months and see if they're.
Maybe they'll break out and
at least they can't open doors. Click.
What about the rest of the spiders throughout the city too? Because that was I didn't get the impression they drew all the spiders throughout the entire city, just the ones in the hotel.
I get the impression though that the biggest ones were there. The ones that.
What about the one in the flat. That was huge.
Yeah, and well, there was the one in Grant's apartment flat that had shed its exoskeleton or its skin.
So what about the ones that escaped the hotel?
Yeah,
There's no resolution for that.
Well, but I don't get the impression that they're continuing to mutate and grow. There were certain ones that did.
Keep
These
feeding
were
and keep
babies.
growing.
Well, not necessarily. This particular one did because it was the carcass that came from the source. The rest of them, I mean, I got the impression that they'll call an exterminator. You got a spider calling exterminator. They no longer had the pheromones drawing them to that one location anymore because the mother spider died. The big giant spider died. So I get the impression that they'll go on to live their lives, and exterminators will come out and take care of really big spiders as opposed to mostly tiny ones. So I don't think that was left open ended. I don't think that it was necessitated the rest of the UK, because once we got to the hotel, they kind of implied that the rest of the UK. In fact, the doctor says something to the fact that these other spiders are nothing. You don't have nothing to worry about now. This is where the problem is, and since they took care of that problem, I think the thing that I wanted to see them do though was, and maybe it's a holdout for something they could do with this idiot character later.
It definitely feels like he could come back.
What did they do with the landfill underneath? Because all that waste is still under there. I expected him to torch that or something.
See, that's I'm with Keith. I feel like
I wanted to see the end of the episode with the entire hotel on fire, pretty much. That solves the entire issue.
Brought the flamethrower, burned the house down to kill the spider. Done. We know it works.
Brought the stuff for s'mores.
But yeah,
I got the extra toxic flavor.
Now, wasn't there a scene though where when everybody's running around doing stuff, isn't there a bit where the doctor's putting together some sort of chemical? Because I got the impression that they weren't luring them into the...
it was the she wasn't putting together chemicals. She just get all the essential oils you possibly can, because spiders don't like them, so they were going to use that to drive her in.
Oh, so they were using that to her.
That's how they.
Right.
That's
kind of like the garlic and.
Yeah,
okay, well, because I got the impression that she was basically making a bug bomb, and that once they got them into the room, she was going to set it off. And I went, well, that's...
No, there's certain essential oils that spiders just don't like, and so it's more of a protection.
Okay.
Thing, so that much I got.
Okay,
I got that part too.
Yeah, no, see, I was under the impression that it was the other.
No.
But I'm with you. I think it needed a resolution, because if the spiders are not, if they were lured in and killed, then that to me sends kind of the wrong message that you structured everything else so well to try and say there's no reason for you to be afraid of spiders, and you kind of flubbed it at the finish line. But if they were left alone in the room, okay, they're going to what? They're going to die of starvation, or they're going to eat the food for 6 months and then die of starvation.
And then probably eat each other and then die of starvation.
That's also horrible and kind of flubs at the finish line to do that. Or a crazy scientist is going to come and break into that vault and get a whole bunch of genetic material and start mutating these spiders. Okay, I guess you set up a sequel idea, but,
Yeah.
I know. I see where you guys are coming from, and I agree that.
You know what I
don't
wanted
know
to
that
see?
they really flubbed it at this finish line, because I think that they gave it some closure. I just think that they probably didn't. I think ultimately, though, what you're left to think about is A, should it have been a mercy killing? B, was it right to let nature take its course, just guide it a little bit? Or C, do we? I don't know or C, what's the other alternative? And I think we're supposed to think about that. I don't think we're supposed to.
Well, I think with the fact that you didn't torch the toxic waste dump, that any spider happens to wander in there, the process could conceivably start again. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to have the stuff from the lab, but it's conceivable that it could happen. You want to, honestly, I hate to say this because it's going to be, it sounds like nerd boy fan, but you know how you fix it? The doctor carts them all off at the end of the episode and drops them off on a certain planet.
And blue crystals.
Here, you guys can live out the rest of your lives and everything's fine. And then we pan to the TARDIS scanner and they've landed on Metabolus 3 in the past. And this is where okay, fixed.
I almost
that
thought
would've
they
been
were going to
great.
go that
I'd be
direction.
fine with that.
But
Yeah.
instead, we're left with this. So what happened to the spider? I don't know.
Well, and plus the jerk American kind of gets away scot-free.
That's what made me think that maybe they're bringing that because that's a big actor too.
Yeah,
a
it
big
is.
actor, but he's a well-known
Pretty
actor.
big name, yeah. A big American name more than
Right.
anything. A Hollywood star.
Was he? He was in Mad Men. Is that what he was on? He was on something.
He was on Sex in the City.
Sex and the City. Yeah, that's right.
And then a Law and Order show.
That's what I'm thinking of. He was on a Law and Order. Yeah. Okay.
President Ed Sheeran.
Are you Ed Sheeran?
So what I loved about the episode was the Doctor and the companions and the supporting cast.
Yep.
Yep.
I thought this was a nice way to also kind of show the companions ready to go home, companions getting home and realizing what they have at home and what they're missing out on if they don't go back, and companions going back and saying, "Hey, we want to come with you." It was nicely done, and I think it delivered on that very well.
Just that moments early on when they all are, okay, see ya, and the Doctor's so almost mopey until she gets invited to tea was just so great to show how much she already cares for these people.
And Grant's comment, "Don't leave until we come back." It's like, dude, that hasn't worked in the history of the show. We'll come back for a proper bite. Sneak, sneak.
Although this time I think she would have stuck around even if the spider invasion hadn't happened.
Yeah, I think so.
For a proper goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the continuing evolution of these companions. It was really nice to get more of Yaz. I really liked her mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not sure about her crazy dad bringing trash into the house, but okay.
Well, but that went
tied
full
in.
circle. It tied completely in. In fact, unfortunately, I kept going, "Yeah, you're the one that brought the spider to the neighbor's house that killed the neighbor, but I'm not going to go there." I like the fact that the mom says has the line about it is a conspiracy. My husband's right. You know how annoying it is to admit my husband's right.
But I really, really continue to enjoy the way that Ryan and Graham are struggling through this.
Yeah.
How do we define our relationship? And they get right up to the verge of, I read the letter and, proper family, I don't like the way he said that. And it's like, oh, wow, Ryan's really softening here a little bit. And I kept waiting for the big emotional moment from Graham.
Ryan?
And instead it's, did you check the ceiling?
No.
And so immediately Mel and I were like, here it comes again.
Yep.
But,
I absolutely love the way they're portraying grief in this season so far, especially with Graham and him seeing her everywhere in the flat. It's so heartbreaking.
He is. It's a little
too.
reminiscent of what we're getting with Alice in the 11th Doctor comic.
A little bit, yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Which is cool. We've got an older companion who's lost. Oh, man, I'm right there. It was nice to see Grace again, even if it was just a grief hallucination.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, yeah.
But then that guy.
And I like the scientist lady that we met.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're not
And
supposed
Yaz's mom.
You're not supposed to like that guy. So.
No.
Tell me exactly what happened. Spider came out of the bathtub and ate my bodyguard, Kevin. Okay.
There were so many great
At least
jokes
the doctor
in this
remembered
that-
later. Oh, this must be Kevin.
Yeah.
She opened it. So Holly is completely, she's like you, right? Probably even more so, completely arachnophobic. She's,
It's another film I have not seen.
yeah, she is completely arachnophobic.
Not happening.
And events came about this weekend. We were just so busy that we didn't get a chance to watch it. And so last night I thought, well, I'm going to sit down and watch this because I've got to have it watched to review it tonight. And I knew I was going to not have a chance to see it. So I sit down and watch it, and she was getting ready to go to bed, and I texted her and I said, yeah, I think I just skipped this one. If I were you, I would just fill you in on plot details. Don't even bother watching this one. You will not make it through it anyway. So, and Mason probably won't make it through it either. So, Caitlin will, but she's like 3 episodes behind.
What was
She's
the
always got
worst
something
one?
going on. Huh?
What was the worst one?
For me?
Spider?
Yeah. What was the worst spider?
The spiders didn't bother me, so
I think for
can't
me,
say.
the worst one was when Grant and Ryan are going to trap one. That was the worst one, I thought.
And then the ones in the hallway
with the
coming back
pot.
at him.
Yeah.
And up, lid. It's like, no.
Well, then they had it, and I was thought, okay, just make sure you keep that lid on, and then more of them come, and I thought, oh gosh,
That scene I thought was very creepy with them in the hallway coming at them in the dark. Yeah, because you don't know where or what. Yeah. And I'm not afraid of spiders, but that scene was probably the most impactful for me.
The other part of it was the sound effects of the clinkety, 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 clinky from inside the pot.
Yeah.
No. Not dealing
I think the one in the apartment bothered me too, but I think probably because that was the first instance of a large one that
I didn't expect them to be that large when they first showed up. Yeah.
Although we had just seen the carcass of the one in Graham's attic, so
I couldn't see it very well. It was kind of dark.
Yeah, it's dark.
well, he's reaching down to touch it. And I know it's about spiders, and I'm like, what are you doing? And it was when later he came running up and said, there's this, you won't believe this carcass, this shell that it had shed it. And I goes, okay, I probably would have been more inclined to touch it if I knew it was the shell.
No.
But so I gave him a pass on that one. But as he was reaching down and touching it, what are you doing?
Have you not seen Alien? That's a face hugger. No.
I also really like the subtle, slow introduction of the spiders with the cobwebs just slowly building throughout the episode as it goes, and to the point where it's taking up the entire wall of the hotel. I thought it was a nice touch.
Yeah.
Even before if you did for some reason miss the title card and didn't know which episode you were watching and just caught it right after the opening credits, you would see the hints of the spiders coming forward.
By the way, why would you fire the manager of the hotel immediately? Why wouldn't you start firing cleaning staff first? I mean, it wasn't her fault that the rooms were dirty.
He was just taking his anger out on
well, not only, I don't think it was just because of the rooms. I think it was because he had come down to have the secret meeting about the toxic waste dump that was under the thing. And here's somebody who's not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
She might have overheard something.
Yeah.
True.
Were this another show, she probably would have been killed.
Kind of a low body count for... Well, we don't know how many bodies were dangling down in there. We only saw the two, but there may have been more.
So only 3 people we saw dead.
The woman in the flat and the 2 at the...
Yeah.
Kevin,
you can probably assume the
name?
next door flat of Graham's probably has a body too.
I don't like it when... Why do people in horror situations act dumb? Why is that?
It's a trope.
I'm going to touch the spider carcass, and then little miss, I've got my cell phone out, and I'm walking down into what is obviously a catacomb of some sort, and this is my evidence. No, just no.
Well,
bad idea.
At that point, she, to be fair, she doesn't know about the spiders even exist.
She was going to deal with the toxic waste.
They don't know about the spiders until at least the people associated with the hotel don't know about the spiders until the one breaks through
Kevin.
the bathroom. Yeah, it eats Kevin or takes Kevin away. So she was walking down there with her phone to get that evidence because she was covering her own butt.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like she was walking into peril. She just thought she's probably been in there a dozen times.
I probably overreacted because I was already on high alert. So watching her go down, I was like, no. We said no a lot. Continuing my complaint with the doctor's wardrobe. It really stood out to me, this one, where they land and they come out, and Grant and Ryan are pulling on gloves, and they're all standing there shivering because it's so cold, and she's wearing shorts, and I'm like...
She's got the 2 heartbeats. She's warm. And that one story that we read so long ago with the third doctor fixes all of those issues.
It really illustrated to me that now this is just impractical. And then I noticed, and I don't know if this is a Jodie Whittaker acting thing or not, the doctor seems out of breath all the time. They get to wherever they're going, and she starts to deliver the first line of dialogue, and she sounds like she's exhausted because she's already explained something for an hour.
I haven't noticed
it. It seems very much like she's, okay, tell me what's going on. And it's like, Now, Grant, I
I
expect.
have
I love the fact that Grant shows up and he's keeled over going, there's a spider in the ballroom. I love that.
I hadn't noticed with her.
I hadn't noticed that either.
I know it's going to seem like, oh, Sean's being critical and nitpicky and blah, blah, blah. I don't know.
I loved her alienness in this story, too. With the offhanded stories and the trying to make small talk.
And not knowing who the guy was, thinking maybe it's Ed Sheeran, because she always hears about Ed Sheeran in this time.
And it's not so oddly alien that it's off-putting. It's just charming.
It's just
quirky.
babbling. And when at the dinner table, you're doing that again.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I thought I was making small talk. No.
I ought to get a purple couch and sit on it. What?
I was so hoping that you were going to hide behind it. Just to have the doctor go, I could get a sofa, a big purple one, and then I could hide behind it. No, we didn't go there.
But we did get it.
That would have been something the 11th Doctor would have said, though.
Yes.
Yeah,
Hide
yeah.
behind
But we did get an official Team TARDIS.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a cool moment.
That was a cool moment. So what should we call ourselves?
And I like the new Vortex when we get to see the inside of it. Kind of fits with the opening theme.
I liked it. It's pretty neat. Good visualization. And to be fair, and maybe it's just because it's growing on me a bit, but I think also we got to see like larger expanses of it, better angles of it. I like the TARDIS. I don't like it better, but I was more okay with the TARDIS. Still don't like all that crystalline.
Growing on me a little bit more.
Yeah, well, so
It's not bothering
so
me
is
as
that
much.
crystalline's probably
I
growing.
still think it's too dark, and
I love the walls, though.
I love the walls, but it's lit too
It's a
dark.
different take on the roundels for sure.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. The more I see them, the more I think the crystal pillars are just too large.
Yeah,
They're
just
eating up
big.
too much
There's
space
too much
in there.
Yeah.
I didn't like
But there's
the
more
Vortex.
space around those crystals in these shots today, so I was more appreciative of that.
Yeah, I almost wonder if the walls are not. If they were smart, they built the room. The set department built the room
So
so,
you could-
that those walls could move. So
Oh,
that you
yeah,
could put
to
your
film.
camera wherever you
Yeah.
needed to. Unlike Paramount, which every time they redesigned the Enterprise bridge and built a new one up through, I think, Star Trek V, they built a circle and then went, oh, we can't back the camera up any further because there's a wall here. I didn't like the Vortex. It felt a little too Bill and Ted. TARDIS is traveling along in the tunnel. I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. And then it's in this big chasm full of holes. I was like, what is that?
See, that's like a nexus point, and they can choose which offshoot they're going to go on. I especially like the big hole and the other holes everywhere around. Yeah.
That to me calls to mind.
It's a new concept of, okay, if you take a left here, you go to ancient Rome. You take a right here, you go to the future Rome. I mean,
I agree. I
like
that
it.
That was clever. I'd never seen.
think
that.
of it like a highway,
I
Sean.
know, it's more like a wibbly wobbly.
A big
timey-wimey
ball of
ball
what?
of stuff,
Exactly.
but
It's not a single corridor throughout time and space.
I think it should be.
Well, if it was just time in one location, yes, it could be a corridor. But then you got to move through space too, and that's where everything else comes into play.
It's just me.
It is just you.
I know. It's
Grumpy fanboy.
a grumpy
Yep.
fanboy. I'm just not going to win that one. I understand that, but I didn't care for it. But it also came after the title, so
What?
the shot
because
of them
because it wasn't in the opening title.
no,
you
the
didn't
fact
like
that we'd
it?
already seen Arachnids. I was on
Oh,
edge.
okay.
So
That already set you off.
I
yeah,
gotcha.
if this could have been the greatest episode ever, I wouldn't like it.
I also love the end of it when they all decide that they want to be on the TARDIS and each of their motivations. I think it was fantastic.
And her being forthcoming with, I can't guarantee your safety. They were like, okay.
Probably the most consensual joining of the TARDIS ever. Especially since it started with so much like the first Doctor of almost kidnapping them.
Right.
And again,
That's not our fault, though.
No, it wasn't, but still.
And again, Graham, I don't want to be at home grieving. I'd rather be, just
Especially Graham's motivations.
just nailed it.
Yeah.
Agreed. Anything else with this one?
I don't think so.
There were spiders.
Well, what do we got coming up on the schedule?
Next week, I don't remember what next week's episode is. Do you?
Turunga Conundrum. Something like that.
Yeah, that one. We're going to cover that.
I can't say that word. The Tsaranga Conundrum, something like that.
Yeah, it sounds like you got conundrum right.
I think it's a sci-fi word.
Tsaranga. Tsuranga.
It's probably Saranga.
Okay.
Saranga?
The Saranga Conundrum.
Yeah, you probably just barely touched the T.
Well, because it looks like Tunguska, but it's not. So
Let me see it. We'll just all give it a shot. Let's all take a stab.
This week on Traveling the Vortex, the boys mispronounce everything.
Yeah, but that T is somewhat silent. I bet it's Saranga Conundrum.
Okay, we're going to review the Sananga Conundrum.
Saranga.
Next week, Glenn's responsible for saying the title. Unless they tell us how to pronounce it in the episode.
Well, I think it's like tsunami, or there's a T in front of that.
Tsunami.
To tsunami.
Tsunami, right?
Yeah.
All right, well, don't forget, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Store, Stitcher, Player FM. There's always one I forget. TuneIn, that's the one. TuneIn. And you can point your podcast aggregator towards our RSS feed, too, and get our episode in your feed every week. So please do that. And if you want to support us and help this podcast continue to go and grow, you can join us as a patron supporter, and there is a link on our website that will take you right to where you need to be in order to do that, and it'll take you right through the process. Thank you for those of you that are still supporting us. We appreciate it. All right, that's going to do it for this week. Until next week, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you.
Thanks for listening.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.